Flavor chasers, back road explorers, gather round, gather round. Welcome to CHUG CHOW. This is the podcast where every episode is a pit stop at America's most storied eateries and legendary watering holes. I'm Todd Newton, author of the book CHUG CHOW, the Tattooed Traveler's 50 Favorite Dive Bars and Food Joints Across America. This is the podcast based on that book, and today we're going to turn up the heat a little bit in the city of lakes, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Great town. Now, this won't be just any burger run. We're heading straight to Matt's Bar, a neighborhood joint with more stories than bar stools, the birthplace of the iconic, and I never use that word lightly, Jucy Lucy. Picture this, a burger so bold, it hides a molten core of cheese that erupts with every bite. It's a local legend. It's a rite of passage and a delicious mess that you'll never forget. So buckle up, bring your appetite, and let's take a big cheesy bite out of Minneapolis history, shall we? One sizzling burger at a time. What in the world is a Jucy Lucy? You might be wondering. You're certainly not the first to ask this question, nor would you be the first to question the spelling of the word juicy, J-U-C-Y. Rest assured, all of your questions will soon be answered, but I must begin this episode with the same disclaimer that my server gave me upon presenting my burger. Fear the cheese, she said. Now, I want you to imagine two all-beef patties stuffed, not covered, stuffed with molten cheddar cheese and sealed together at the edges, sizzling before your eyes on a grill barely larger than the card table your grandparents used for gin rummy. Matt's Bar on Cedar Avenue South, mattsbar.com is their website, is unpretentious. A classic neighborhood dive bar you'd love to have on your street corner. The only difference? Matt's is always packed. Always. And we have Matt Bristol to either thank or blame, depending on your perspective. We will speak with current co-owner Scott Nelson in just a moment. Before becoming Matt's Bar, back in 1954, the establishment was called Nibs. Matt was an employee of Nibs. When the owner, Nibs Martin, purchased another venue, Matt reopened the old bar under his name. My friends and I last visited Matt's Bar on a cold February morning in 2025. It was just after 10:30 a.m. The temperature was barely above freezing. After parallel parking my rental car there along Cedar Avenue, I joined a small line of eager customers who were already waiting for the doors to open. I quickly discovered that queuing at Matt's was standard practice. The line had grown impressively when I finally heard the deadbolt unlock on that weathered red door at precisely 11 o'clock. I counted more than 30 people stretching around the corner onto 35th Street. We entered in a single-file line, passing a sign that proudly proclaimed how long Matt's Bar had been serving up its classic burger, and that we were, without question, about to experience, quote, the original Jucy Lucy. Two female servers led each party to an available table where laminated single-page menus were casually placed. Behind the grill, a man with a gray ponytail trailing midway down his back was already at work, the robust scent of sizzling beef filling the air. Every table was taken within 30 minutes and not a single seat remained at the bar. Our corner booth sat beneath framed magazine covers featuring Matt's Bar and a collection of Best of Minneapolis awards. With a friendly nod, a server soon approached and asked, "What can I get you, boys?" We ordered the famed Jucy Lucy burgers and Diet Cokes all the way around, and we were reminded that the bar only accepted cash. But not to worry, there was an ATM by the stairs leading down to the restrooms. Little did we know, this would not be the only time she'd look out for us. Though small, the crew at Matt's Bar functions like a well-oiled machine. Servers weave effortlessly between tables, flipping through their order tablets with practiced precision. Orders are placed and fulfilled with remarkable efficiency because they have to be. Without this rhythmic flow, a backup of hungry Midwestern diners might put the concept of Minnesota nice to the test. Behind the counter, the cook lines one Jucy Lucy up after another, ready to be served. And while the menu includes cheeseburgers, hamburgers, grilled cheese sandwiches, chicken sandwiches, and a few other options, we all know why we're here. And when our baskets of burgers and fries finally appeared, there wasn't one man at my table who was not giddy with anticipation. Now be careful, that's hot cheese you're biting into, cautioned our server. She'd undoubtedly given thousands of customers this warning over the years, and my friend Brandon and I should have heeded it more carefully. Scott Nelson is the co-owner of Matt's Bar. Are you there now?
Yeah, actually, I'm upstairs right now because it's too noisy and busy down there right now.
Well, it's funny you mention that because we're recording this interview right about the time that the doors open there at Matt's Bar. Is it always crazy and busy right out of the gate?
Well, yeah, I mean, unless it's some ungodly weather for the most part, a blizzard or something like that. Yeah, we're very consistent. Like you say, we're some of the few places that actually are busy at lunch nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So like today I opened up and we filled pretty quickly with the older folks come in early, let's face it, and it's a little different now because there aren't business lunches like there used to be these days, right? With people working at home and stuff. But we still pack them in and we'll be steady. Summertime, we'll be steady all day, right? During the wintertime, we'll have a lunch rush and it'll peter out a little bit, later afternoon, but we're pretty consistently busy. But we're not that big either. We're only seat, 80, 90 people. So
you mentioned the word consistency. Right before you came on, Scott, I was telling the folks how when my Jucy Lucy was presented to me, placed before me, it came with a warning to not bite into it too recklessly because that cheese would squirt all over. Is that something that happens every time a Jucy Lucy is served?
That's part of the shtick because they are hot. And if you don't, you bite in and it'll shoot cheese all over you. So it's part of the deal. And you're getting a fresh product. Obviously, you can see it come right off the grill for that matter. And just to be careful, we have to kind of poke them on the grill because the cheese will get really hot and then we have to let some of it out. And then by the time it gets there, if you bite in right away, you're in trouble. So they warn it. It's kind of part of the deal, but it is true. Yeah. And it's a hot product.
Yeah. Poking it. There was a really nice guy seated at the table next to me. He's been a regular of yours for over 20 years. He said he always pokes his Jucy Lucy with a straw to release some of that cheese before he eats it.
Yeah, I think that's a little carried away. But the reason you put them on the grill is because when you cook the meat and the cheese, you have some of the grease in there, right? So you have to relieve that, and then it just leaves the cheese and the meat when you're done. So it's not rocket science, but as you've seen, it's the exact same burger we've been making for 71 years. So and literally the same meat press, everything is the exact same size. It's weird, is what it is, but it works, right?
Scott, talk about that grill. You see it just to the right when you walk through the front door. For the volume that you do every day, apparently, it's really not that big.
As you look at it, I kind of tease that my guys are one-arm paper hangers. They're good because we only have basically one product. Well, if somebody order a chicken sandwich once in a while or grilled cheese, but for the most part, it's Jucy Lucy's and a few cheeseburgers here and there, and that's what we want to sell. I mean, that's our product, right? So when we open up, we keep the grill full, as you'll see all day, right. And these guys are just masters at making sure that it's not a quick cook time. They take 15 minutes to cook, right? Because it's a 3-step process, and so these guys will keep the grill full all day. And we'll put out on a Saturday 800 of them off that grill. Wow. Between two cooks too. So the good news is they make a good living on it because they split the tips and everything with the servers and such. So it's a real fair deal, and that's why we keep cooks so well. It's kind of a crazy thing and stuff, but we also in the mornings you'll see, but we'll prep all downstairs, right? And they only last a day, so we got to use up what we've got. So every morning we've got probably 5, 6 people down there for a couple hours each, just bumping these Juicies out. We make our own fresh patties. We get fresh beef in all the time. We make our own patties with an old Hollymatic press machine, and that gives the patty the right consistency, but it has to be kind of packed in there pretty tight to hold so it doesn't break apart, right? And then we squeeze the edges once we put the cheese in, and then rack them up, and then we bring them up all day and cook the heck out of them.
And that you do. I suppose in the interest of being thorough, Scott, and in discussing the history of the Jucy Lucy, the history of Matt's Bar, we have to mention the fact that there are other establishments that serve something that I call the Jucy Lucy adjacent, if you will. There's one place right down the street from you, the 5-8 Club, that claims on occasion, not as passionately as they used to, I don't think, that they are the original Jucy Lucy, but really all signs point to and all roads lead to Matt's Bar as being the originator.
Here's my thought on it. It's like we started doing it. There's no question we started it. And then the 5-8 started. I think they started doing them in the 70s in actuality, and the Nook started more recently. And I don't care, because all the dichotomy of who did what, when, what, where. It's good for all our businesses.
That's right.
I don't care. So I like that, and we didn't patent it and all that kind of stuff, even though we spell it differently. Somebody said that's a 5-8 patented. The way they sound. Who cares? As long as people talk about it, chat about it, come between, try the different places, it's good for everybody. And in fact, we're doing a big thing here for the Taste of Minnesota, where we're doing a thing where you get a flight of Juicies with the Nook, which you've been to, and the 5-8 and us, all in one flight, and you get to taste the different burgers and that. We don't do competitions per se anymore, because we've done so many of them over the years, between Man versus Food, Food Wars, all those shows. We always seem to pull them off, but it's perpetual. You know what I mean? And I think that between the different restaurants doing it, and a lot of places like that, I think there's a place in Duluth that sells them, but they kind of give us credit, like as done in Minneapolis at Matt's Bar, whatever. Again, I only have one restaurant, and we are as busy as ever after 71 years. So we're doing a good job being, as you said, consistent with the product. And as you know, in the restaurant, that's a key. It's got to be the same time. And when you hear about it on your show, for example, if they come and it's not, then they're disappointed. It doesn't do anybody any good, right?
Right. And I see your point. I'm a little overly competitive when I don't necessarily need to be, when it doesn't always benefit me, I think. I mean, I love trademarking just about everything, protecting everything. But there's something intriguing about knowing all these other people tried to emulate what you're doing, but when you walk through that front door at Matt's Bar and you see the sign, home of the original Jucy Lucy, that's powerful.
Well, what's funny too is a year or two ago, which I won't say, one of the contenders tried to sue us for that. And went through the whole expensive rigmarole, and it proved that we were, or that they couldn't prove themselves, whatever it was. It cost everybody a bunch of money. So and again, that was a little annoying. But we've been doing Matt's, and Matt just died here. Well, he died the day Obama came in, actually. But about 10 years ago, and I heard all the stories, and in fact, Matt's wife is still alive. She's like 93. And she's, we talk to her once in a while. So we've got a good history there. It's like I say, it's not rocket science, but we keep it consistent, and we've been doing it, and we did create it. Now, again, anybody can put cheese, between a patty, but we've had this exact same product for all those years.
Is it tricky to maintain the authenticity? Because it really does feel like a neighborhood tavern when you walk in, but in reality, you're known around the globe because of that burger.
When I bought it, it was still a little 3-2 beer joint. I don't know if you're familiar with how that worked. In the old days, you couldn't put in a neighborhood, you couldn't put a full bar and high alcohol beverages in these local neighborhoods. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Scott. Just to clarify, a 3-2 beer joint is a place that can legally sell beer with a 3.2% alcohol content. Right. Not a place you'd want to go if you want hard booze.
And actually, we've grown it from, we're only probably not even 20% alcohol, which to be honest with the neighbors like that. We don't have any problems with alcohol. So we're really a restaurant that serves beer and wine and lots of it. And that sets well with the neighborhoods and things like that. So he grew it. And I'll be honest with you, when I got it, I've been in the restaurant business for like 50 years. I worked for all the chains. And once I got my own place, I just managed it, I think, pretty well. And at one time we had 9 20-year employees here, which in a restaurant, which is odd, right? and we're consistent, and it's a fun place. It's a good vibe.
9 20-year employees. You have a lot of plaques and awards and magazine covers hanging on the walls there, but that's really what speaks the loudest. I take a little flack from time to time, Scott. I don't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok. We just have this podcast, the book, and the Tattooed Traveler YouTube channel. So I'm not a big social media guy, but I would imagine that these social media platforms have taken the Jucy Lucy and Matt's Bar worldwide. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, it's really crazy when you really think about it. And I'll be honest, a lot of it is, after I started becoming more successful, everybody says, well, you should open more. And I go, you know what? I don't want to open more. I'm older. I got one place. I keep it. It's paid for. I own the building. Why?
Right.
So I just kept this place running. And we have done this last year, opened a food truck.
Brilliant.
Which is odd. We went from brick and mortar to also a food truck, which is kind of opposite what most people do. But what happens was we have a customer base that basically wanted us to do it. So we'll do events, grad parties, these sorts of things that, the customers basically asked us, why aren't you doing this? So we're trying it, and we're just knocking out of the park here this spring. And it's really kind of a lot of fun too. So we're doing that now, and that's all we'll do. I don't want to open any more restaurants. Like I say, it's a volatile business, as you know. You've been obviously at like 1,000 of them. So you've seen some of the ones I'm sure you've done, you've come back and they're gone a couple years later too, right?
Sadly, you're right.
Yeah. And my thing is, I'm an operator. I'm not a chef, right? And I grew up, after working for chains, I grew up just, I love the business, but I'm not a guy that wants to create new wheel food, So I just love burgers, and there's a couple other places out here that are, like Lion's Tap, which is a phenomenal place. And I grew up eating those places, and then I just decided, you know what, I want to do this. Yeah. So long story short, I've been in it a long time, but it's a consistent. The ups and downs of the world don't affect a burger business, and with our price range, so we seem to hold steady.
Scott, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to back me up on something. I don't want people to read the Matt's Bar chapter in the book, CHUG CHOW, and think that I do not know how to spell the word juicy. It is spelled throughout the chapter, Jucy, and that's actually the way you spell it, not Juicy. Can you give us the backstory on that?
Well, there's two things that happened. One was when they sent menus out. One, they get them printed by the beer guys, basically do it, and they always have. And one time they misspelled it on the menu, so they left that. And then when Matt started making T-shirts to sell, the person that did up the one you see in the restaurant, we still use the old one, misspelled it because they liked the way it looked better. It was symmetric. Yeah. So you had two different versions of kind of why, and it just stuck. It's like, why change it? Then it also helped us differentiate between the different things. But it's been spelled that way since not day one, but shortly after that.
Well, I wear my Matt's Bar T-shirt with pride, my friend. You're always the first stop whenever we come through town. Scott Nelson, co-owner of Matt's Bar. I appreciate you taking time, my friend. It really means a lot.
Yeah, no problem at all here, and I look forward to seeing you sometime. And good. The show's awesome. I've watched a number of episodes on it. What kind of life do you have besides travel?
Well, I like to spend as much time with my beautiful family as I can. I like to see as much of this beautiful world as my legs will allow, and taste as much scrumptious food as my waistline will allow. That pretty much sums up the Tattooed Traveler lifestyle, man.
That's a good recipe you got going for yourself. That's awesome.
Scott of Matt's Bar in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota, home of the original Jucy Lucy. I know you're busy, man. Very cool talking with you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the time.
Upon tossing the final savory bite of my Jucy Lucy burger into my mouth, I tucked a cheese-soaked napkin into my coat pocket like a badge of honor. I placed a $20 bill on the bar to cover my burger, my soda, and the tip. Though not yet noon, the line outside had grown longer than when I'd arrived. There's something magnetic about Matt's Bar that draws people to willingly brave Minnesota's chill. Perhaps it's the establishment's storied history, or more likely it's the legendary Jucy Lucy, that molten centered burger that's become Minneapolis folklore. Or maybe it's the t-shirts that Scott mentioned, the ones proclaiming, no, Jucy Lucy is not your hot cousin from Cleveland. In the land of 10,000 lakes and nearly as many eateries. Some are worth both the wait and the cheese burn, which I'm here to tell you is all but inevitable. That's a wrap on today's flavor-packed adventure. I want to thank you for joining me, and I do hope you'll subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a tasty episode. Maybe even throw us 5 stars, and for dessert, write us a little review. My book, Chug Chow, is packed with great eateries like Matt's Bar, dive bars too. It's available on Amazon and at chugandchow.com. And when you purchase a copy of Chug Chow, the proceeds from your purchase provide 10 meals for a family in need. That's food for your soul and food for someone else's table. I'm Todd Newton. Until next time, keep chugging, keep chowing, keep exploring.
Chug Chow is produced by the host with the most LLC. All rights reserved.